Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to Voices being brought to you by Radios in the Gay. And I'm Miss Renu from Genius Kids. Always happy to be here and a very happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Yes, believe it or not, Voices is here for Thanksgiving. So as you're prepping up your turkey or maybe not your turkey if you're a vegetarian, do tune in, do participate in our show. We're being streamed live on Facebook. You can post in your comments, your questions as well. In addition to that, you can also call the studio and Ira, our amazing RJ, will post your question for you. The phone number of the studio is 510-657-1170. You know, we didn't do the show last week because I wasn't well, but I was thinking about this morning, how appropriate to have a topic of immigration on Thanksgiving Day. I mean, you couldn't get better than that because let's all remember, America is a nation of immigrants and I'm an immigrant, a very proud one too. And all of us are immigrants. And the only ones that are not immigrants are the Native Americans at whose cost we celebrate Thanksgiving today. So let us not forget that because it seems that many people, especially I said I would not talk about him, but especially our current president tends to forget that this country is the melting pot. And that's why we've picked this topic today, which is what's going on, what happened to immigration during COVID and what's going to happen now with our new president that's coming in and the new team. So on that note, let me not waste any time, but introduce our amazing panelists who are also friends of mine. So in no particular order, I'll begin with Mr. Alok, who knows me from my Genius Kids days, having taught his children. Alok is the founder of Canvas Infotech and Sync IT Learning. He has taught over 6,000 people in the last 14 years. So I'm going to have to open a competition with you, Alok, on this one. And he's very well known in the Bay Area for all the work that he does. In addition to that, he has a bachelor's from the Indian Institute of Technology, a master's in computer science from West Virginia University, and he's worked in many Fortune 500 companies. So welcome, Alok.
Thank you, Renu. It is always so refreshing to see you and hear you. And I still remember the days when I used to walk my two kids to your Genius Kids location in Ardenwood, and one of the best education they ever got.
Thank you so much. And you know, all of you are so good looking, including daddy, grandpa. I could never understand which one I should flirt with. So, you know, it's funny. I remember our teachers used to say, back off, Miss Renu. This is one of the cute dads we need to talk to. So it was wonderful to see you. So thank you so much. And then, of course, I have my good friend who I always spend a lot of time posting and reposting on Facebook. And that's, of course, Shah Pirali, who's well known all over the Bay Area and the country, in actual fact. He's the founder, president, and managing attorney of the Shah Pirali Law Group. And he's a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, as well as the State Bar of California. He's a very passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action. The list is endless. And you know, I never really say this, but he is one of my favorite attorneys. Attorneys are not normally anyone's favorite, but this particular one is my favorite. Hi, Shah, how are you?
Thank you so much. This is nice of you, and thank you. And you're my favorite too.
Oh, thank you. I need to increase your volume a little bit or come closer. You're a little difficult to hear.
I'm not an IT guy, but okay. Can you hear me properly now?
That much better. Yes, thank you so much. And today, of course, I make a new friend who will join my friend list, and that'll be Mr. Krishna Vemuri. He's the chairman of Footran Solutions and Easy Jobs, Inc. Footran Solutions is a boutique IT solutions company specializing in data analytics, intelligent process automation, and mobility solutions. And Easy Jobs is a job portal with a difference. So welcome, Krishna.
Thank you, Renu. Thank you for having me. And thank you, listeners. I wish you all the very, very happy Thanksgiving Day today. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone. So we all know that this whole country has been in turmoil since March 16th, right? Everything's been in turmoil. I mean, I'm sure your lives have been impacted as much as my life has been personally, as well as business-wise. So I'm going to begin my first question, of course, to you, Shah, because immigration has been one of the big topics, and it's been one of the main topics even for the last 4 years, even prior to COVID. So let me begin with you, Shah. How is the coronavirus affecting petitions, the H-1Bs, green card, citizenship?
Well, thank you first of all for welcoming me. And yes, it's definitely affecting everything. Everything is delayed, especially when it comes to fingerprints, right? Because our dear friend Orange has, well, I didn't want to say Trump, but he introduced so many rules on the visas. Like, for example, for the H4 now we have a fingerprint system, and since the fingerprint is becoming a problem because of COVID, it's not secure. Everything got delayed. Plus, as you know, we had the problem with the USCIS. They didn't have funding for a while, and that shut down a lot of the office. So cases that would usually take like 60 days now are taking 6 months. And,
Wow.
and as it piles up, now we are seeing delays that we cannot really explain to the clients, because some clients are saying, oh, I'm looking there, I don't know, I'm not sure what time, and cases that will take like 3-4 months now has reached up to 1 year, according to them. But let's wait and see now how things are going to evolve. But it's not only COVID, it's a combination of a lot of things that are happening together. But COVID just made it harder and harder on everybody. Plus a lot of people.
Do you think things had started to get worse prior to COVID already because of the current president's views?
Oh, definitely. He made everybody's life a nightmare. Simple cases now. For example, whenever they were reviewing cases, there's a standard that we always use when we do immigration, not only immigration, everything in law. If we put it in simple terms, you are innocent until proven guilty. But under this administration, you are guilty until proven innocent. So basically everything becomes an uphill battle, even simple cases. So now adding COVID on that, we have a recipe for a nightmare. And cases that should not have even been denied, and with all the complications, the memos he introduced, etc., it's a big mess. But luckily, we are still getting approvals, but it's creating a lot of frustrations and stress on our clients and people. And many of them I see when I talk to them, it's more fear than anything else. So it is definitely, it was there. He made it difficult since he took power, and it got worse and worse. I've not seen, the only good news we had was the movement of the priority dates, but that's it, nothing else.
Thank you for that. So this moves on to Alok. So what has an impact been of COVID on the IT staffing and the training industry?
It's actually been a bittersweet experience. The specifically the training part actually has gone up. A lot of people who are stuck at home have been upping their certifications. And as you know, we do certifications in IT primarily. So the business has actually gone up on the certification side, pure, where somebody wants to do a PMP certification, Scrum Master. Yeah, of course, the in-person attendance has gone down, and I guess we are thankful for that. We have about 3,000 square foot office, and we can only accommodate 6 or 7 people safely. But on the certification side, things have been actually very good. On the placement side, on the consulting side, where we take our consultants and place them, as Shah was saying, it's been really, really bad, primarily because of H1 issues, wage level issues. When people's H1 are coming up for an extension, the new rules that came up on October 7th requires us to pay $40,000 more for the exact same place where they're working today.
Wow.
And that almost amounts to a no placement. The consultant has to be pulled back because we don't have those margins to be able to pay that. In fact, we don't even get paid by the client what now the DOL is asking us to pay the consultant because of the higher level wage classification. So it's been, one side has been good, the other side has been bad.
Oh, I didn't even know about that. Oh, I've been so wrapped up with just dealing with running the school and all the changes we've had to. That is sad. But I have noticed, for example, a lot of our families who are on H1 are they're in this situation. They don't even know where they're going and what to do with their kids, which has been so difficult. So Krishna, what happens to contractors who've been laid off projects due to the current situation, especially H1B personnel who you can't afford to have on a bench for too long?
Yeah, bench for too long is a problem that has been existing not in Corona as well as earlier also. The situation is the H1 people, it's little better to, rather they are in a better position to get a job. But again, that new rule of higher wages when we change the LCA is coming very badly in our way. Actually, let me go back to 2004 when I came here. H1 visa, like a doctor is able to get a H1 visa saying that he's an IT professional. That was the state of how the education used to be there in 2004 when I came here. But as the time progresses, every year the educators they're getting matured, and then they start putting hurdles, and then it kept on. We see one hurdle, and when we overcome, how to go over maybe some lawsuits by ILA or some other people. Like now, IT Service, an organization where I'm one of the member, which is also fighting for this kind of cases. So there is always a hurdle, and then a memorandum comes. So this is how we are going to adjudicate, and then we find out a way along. I mean, with the help of lawyers like Shah, attorneys like Shah, and then finally they'll come up with another hurdle. It has been happening from 2006 onwards until now. It is not pertaining to one administration or other administration. I saw that in the Bush administration, more hurdle. I saw that in Obama administration. I saw that in Trump administration. But now what has happened is recently, I think in July, you must have seen there is a case in Tennessee Valley Authority, where Trump nominated the chairman has brought a CEO with $8 million. It looks that nobody should be able to give more than 400K or 500K to a federal employee. So what that guy has done is he got Accenture into the fold. And then when Accenture came, Accenture said, possibly you have 67 IT employees. We remove all the 67 IT employees. You remove 67 IT employees, maybe we do it half the cost. So what they have done is, maybe they have employed only 50% of 67 employees, and then like whatever are the H1 people they got. Unfortunately, these guys who were earlier employed, they got to train the incoming employees, and they went and told Trump, and it became election issue. And that's how the wages have increased. Yeah, wages are difficult. On the other side, the business is also matured in the sense like we used to get better dollar rates sometime back in 2004, 5, 6. And then there are a lot of companies trying to come into the fold, and then they are trying to drop the rates. Now we are at a stage that we cannot give 110K. I think if it's in California for a software programmer, 120K. Actually, for employing such a consultant, we have to pay to the consultant from our pockets. That is the situation. It's not that basically people have, without knowing the consequences from the educator side, from the employer side, from the big companies like TCS, all these kind of people, we at one side we have our rates have been reduced, and then other side these kind of things are happening. Now in a stage, this is so much imbalance that Trump, he wants America first, and then this is exactly where he want to hit us. So you get H1 visas, okay, but you pay them more so that more than our workers. Okay, so that is where he is. And then it's again a bad thing for whole H1 kind of people as well as OPT guys who are aspiring to get H1. And then there is another rule that has come, like in December 7th onwards, the consulting companies like ours, unless easy jobs, they are going to give visas for only 1 year. That's again a very, very bad thing. So these things have been happening, not from Trump, not from this one, maybe the adjudicators who may not like people coming from different places, or the directors or whoever it is. And then when somebody comes to me, an attorney, how do you get this visa of this person? I did not get the visa. Unfortunately, this visa application has gone to an adjudicator who is maybe a Democrat. Okay, who is not Republican. So that's why your visa has been okayed, and then you got the approval. So okay, we do not have a right or wrong way to apply, because even if we do everything right, we are getting a lot of RFEs. If we are getting everything, sometimes not so much information we give, we are getting the visas. So assuming the vote percentage like 50%, so 50% of my H1 visas come, 50% of my H1 visas are not getting approved. That is as simple as this. As far as I'm concerned, with the experience I have in the recent 10, 15 years.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And for those who've just tuned in, you're listening to Voices being brought to you by Radio Zindagi. I'm Ms. Renu from Genius Kids. And today's topic is immigration, how it has been affected, of course, by not only the current administration, but of course by COVID. I just simply have a very very one-liner to say to everyone. A broken immigration system means broken families and broken lives. Let us not forget that. So all those who voted for the current administration, just keep that in mind, because we are all immigrants. Technically, every single one of us is immigrants, whether you look at it or whichever way you look at that, okay, other than the Native Americans. So back to you, Shah. So all these H1s who have been affected, Mr. Parali, the H1 contractors who've been laid off due to COVID, what does the future look like for them? All of them are so stressed. What does the future look like for them?
Well, definitely, it's not really bright based on what Alok said and Krishna also said. But these are two major issues. For one, they increase the salary in some places like 50-60%, which means someone who was making like 100,000 has to make around 160,000, and no company will be able to pay that. It doesn't even make sense. But luckily, just to let you guys know, there are 10 lawsuits on that. Hopefully, this will be going away. And if not, then Biden will probably take it away because it doesn't really make sense. It's killing a lot of companies. Now, the thing is that right now when people are coming to us, some companies are still hiring, by the way. So people, in the meantime, when you get terminated on an H-1B because a company who cannot afford you or because of COVID, they're downsizing, they will let you go. You have a 60 days grace period to transfer that H-1B, which means either they get another company to move the H-1B to, or we will have to, if they want to stay here, we have to find other options. Some people, they have their spouses who are on H-1B, they can move to H-4 visa, for example. The other options that we offer them is, worst case scenario is, of course, the B1, B2 visa. At least they can stay here and not travel, because with the COVID, it's really dangerous to travel. Now, another option that many people have not looked at is the O1 visa. The O1 visa doesn't have so many limitations like the H-1B, even the salary. And a lot of companies are taking advantage of that, and we are doing a lot of them. And the O1 are for people of extraordinary abilities, but it's not really extraordinary abilities. So many people will qualify for that. But these are options. And of course, we have the J1 visa, which is a nightmare visa, but it's still there. So we are trying to find other options for them until we speak. It's a case by case basis, right? So someone will talk to me and say, okay, the company is willing to go for the H-1B, but they cannot pay the salary. That is very hard. It's almost impossible to get the H-1B done. Then we look into those other avenues. For those who don't have a job at all, the option is at least to buy some time on the B1, B2 and wrap their things and go back, or they find another job. And in this case, after 60 days, they can still move to another company, but the case has to be done through what we call consular processing. That means after it's approved, you have to leave the country, go and get a stamp and come back, which is another nightmare, right? For one, we have COVID, dangerous to travel. Two, you have the embassies, and it used to be you could go to Canada or other places, but Canada are not taking them. So they have to go back to India, where there is, and I'm talking mostly India because most of our H-1Bs are from there. And the delay there is horrible, unless you fall into the category of the exceptions where you have a situation. I'm sorry?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So I didn't hear you properly, Shah. I think there's an echo on your side. Okay. I'm sorry for that. So just to let you know that, yeah, definitely it is horrible, because when people travel to go and get the stamping, they first of all, they have to get an appointment, which is taking months, unless there's a situation of exceptions to the rule. And at one point they block most people. And then by the time they reach there, do you still have the job for them? Because when the company has offered them a job, they need them right away. If they have to wait a month to get the visa stamp and come back, by that time you lose the contract, especially for IT consulting companies. They cannot wait that long. So that's creating a lot of issues. And it's designed on purpose, just to let you know. This is all basically a setup. Like, they know full well this is going to be a problem. Of course, there's COVID that is making it harder, but they made it harder themselves on purpose, because this is a way to overcome the issues of H-1B without having to change the law, because every time they're trying to put a memo, a judge is cutting it off. And that's why they are doing all this. And I blame them. I'm sorry, but I blame them. This is done on purpose. And it is a system that has been set this way. while some businesses are getting preference, most small businesses are struggling.
Okay, thank you. So that leads me to a question back to you, Alok. What effect have these immigration rules had on your consultants in particular, and of course, your H1s and your pending green cards? How are they dealing with it?
Yeah, it's pretty sad, Renu. About 3 years ago, we had 100 people on H1. Today, we have 15 people on H1.
50 or 15?
1-5.
1-5. Wow.
So 85 people, and they've not all just moved on to greener pastures. I mean, there's always been a churn in IT consulting industry, but our green cards and citizens employment has gone up a little bit or stayed the same, but these scores of people had to leave USA. I mean, there's so many cases where all of a sudden an H1 extension that we had filed was, like Shah said, 7 months, 8 months wait, and then a rejection comes, after a couple of RFEs with a perfect application, client letter, itinerary, proof of work. These are all like, solid H1 cases. And all these people have had to either migrate to Canada. A lot of them had these things in the background already. Their Canadian sort of green card was going on. People have moved to Australia. A lot of our consultants have moved back to India. And they've continued their jobs with the same client at times, of course, at a much lower salary. In fact, I'm thinking maybe I'll start an IELTS education center, because so many people are now taking IELTS to go to Australia and Canada. And yeah, I mean, it's just sad. People, have to sell their homes overnight. They've left their cars in the airport. Some of the new consultants who haven't made a big life here, they just drive to the airport and leave the car, and we've had to deal with that at times, get their car returned to the dealership and things like that. So it's bad, and I hope that the new administration will make it easier for legal immigrants, like H1s and F1s, and not have this knee-jerk reaction of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? I mean, I understand what they're trying to do, stamp down on illegal immigration, but unfortunately, the legal immigration is also coming into the churn.
Well, maybe you could elaborate while we're talking about that on what, in your personal opinion, what do you think the Biden administration should do to alleviate this pain that the IT consulting industry is suffering? What's your thoughts on that?
A few specific things they can do is, I get literally a call every other day from friends saying, hey, I have this friend whose H1 is, he's been laid off. Can you find him a job? And in today's day and age, finding a job for someone in 60 days is a very aggressive timeline. So perhaps one specific thing they can do, increase the 60-day limit to 90 days. That would be a kind thing to do for these people who've been here for so many years. When students graduate from college with the F1 visa and they get this OPT, which is their optional practical training, right now they have a 3-month limit. They must get hired in 3 months, or else their OPT is considered not viable anymore. And I think it's hard for even experienced people to have a job within 90 days. How can we expect the brand to increase 180 days? And I think the last thing that they can do is just overturn these higher level wage requirements. Like Shah and I were saying, $50,000, $60,000 more for the same job, same client, same city, bring it back to this new rule wage level. That would be nice to do.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Krishna, in your opinion, have the federal state provisions for COVID helped at all to keep any of these small businesses alive? Because you're obviously with Easy Jobs, you're also having people post jobs. What do you think has been impacted here?
Like the CARES Act has provided only for the citizens, but it did not provide any relief to H1 workers as well as the international students. We don't know how the new government, actually $1.8 trillion worth of package is still pending between President and Nancy Pelosi, and who they are going to include, we don't know. Yeah, quite obviously, when Biden comes, he may include the illegal immigrants to H1s to legal immigrants. That might help, which we don't know. because there is no guidelines or not a single thing has been spoken about this Relief Act extension of $1.8 trillion. Actually, they wanted more. We don't know yet, but current situation is, yeah, the people who are getting the checks, it was stalled because of this bill was not signed for the citizens alone. So hopefully something might work out for illegal immigrants, which Republicans always obstruct. And it much depends on what's going to happen in Georgia. So that's where we are going to help. And then this PPP, whatever has been introduced by Trump, has really helped the consulting companies. I mean, that way, it's a very good scheme. Like instead of giving the employers, it is instead of giving the workers, it is Trump administration has given the employers to in turn give it to them. That's a very good scheme to build the relationship between the employee and the worker. That's one of the good things. But other things, as Mr. Shah Alok told, that we definitely need to have certain things like the 180 days of grace period and all these things should be introduced at least for the extent of this COVID and 6 months thereafter, because it's very difficult, as I said, to get a job for a H1 guy. And then also a fresher from a college, like if we were to file H1 visa, we were supposed to give 160K if we're filing in California, which is not even Facebook might be able to give, or big tech California companies will be able to give that much. So definitely these are, as Mr. Shah told, that there are a lot of litigations, and then one of IT service litigation, I hope it has been already heard. Hopefully end of this month or end of December, we'll get a relief to some extent, when injunction. After that, possibly when Biden comes, he may lift it. And it's more like the US ICS is making all these things. In fact, one more thing, ITServe has won one case against USCIS adjudication, where the duration of H1 visas is like why they are giving for 6 months, 3 months. Okay, so when they won it, then they have sent a new memo. What it says is that, okay, from December 7th onwards, the consulting companies are going to get for their worker a year of visa. And then if it is a direct client, it's going to get 3 years of H1 visa. So what it means is the consulting companies are going to be outrightly killed, because nobody wants to join us. And then not many people will be taken by the big end clients. So therefore, most of these OPT guys who aspire to come here might have to go back home. And as already Alok told, there are several cases of people who went back to India by leaving their cars and things like that. And in fact, this is a big mental turmoil or trauma for them. So sometimes if they are here on OPT and working, and if they get H1 visa, there is a problem. If they don't get H1 visa, another problem. They don't get matches from India for their son or what to get married. So these are all a lot of problems other than the job itself.
Right.
So I don't know, there should be some specific solution for this one. Nobody is addressing this. And in fact, we tried to meet some congressmen about the DACA, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That was going to be one of my questions. Yes.
Yeah, people who arrived, people whose parents arrived illegally and they're here. Everybody talk about that. When we went and then tried to represent, hey, this guy came on H1 visa, and then unfortunately or fortunately, his son became 21-year-old. Okay, he didn't get green card, so the son has to go back to F1 visa to stay in this country. Can you please address this one also? But nobody want to talk about that at the moment.
Right.
So that is the situation with legal immigrants, where most of the Indians come from. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that. For those who've just tuned in, you've joined the program called Voices, and our topic today is a very sensitive topic. It's about immigration, which affects a lot of us, especially here in the South Asian community. And let us not forget actually that the greatest nations are actually defined by how they treat the immigrants. So let us not forget that. And hopefully this country can return back to some kind of sanity on January the 20th. A little off topic, but Shah, we have a young lady that's posted this question specifically for you, so I'm going to ask you the question because she's tuned in to listen. The question is, domestic violence visa was already on a long wait list. Has COVID and current reforms made a severe impact on that too? Or is that unaffected, or just on a slow pace? If you could answer that, please, Shah.
Well, unfortunately, fortunately, the domestic violence cases, people are still filing them, and they're still getting approved. But yeah, definitely the waiting time. For example, a VAWA, Violence Against Women Act case, which was taking around 1 year, now it's taking up to 2 years to 3 years to get approved. And one of the things which is probably the interesting part, just to follow up a little on what Krishna said, where the kids who age out after 21, we also have a problem, and we have to admit it, where people come here and they abuse their spouse. And I mean on both sides, right? Whether it's man or woman, there are abuses. And plus with the stress, it happens. And if an H4 visa holder, spouse abuse him or her, and then decide to leave her or him, she's stuck. She has to go to the same situation, either going to student visa or try to survive on her own. And that's one thing that needs to be amended, definitely. There's a provision that gives them a work permit, the H4EAD for abusers, but it doesn't give them a status. So you have a work permit, but you're not allowed to stay. It's kind of counterintuitive. And that's where we are hoping that there will be some changes under Biden. Just for information, Biden is the one who wrote the VAWA laws in 1992. So we are hoping we can push him to do something good. And again, there will be so many pressing issues that he has to attend to. I don't think we'll be able to do any to push that right away. But hopefully after 1 year and after COVID, we are all praying that COVID situation, because right now it's getting worse, will go away with the vaccine or some kind of solution. Then we can push a lot of those, but a lot of solutions for those situations. But I don't think the time will be shortened, because even before Trump itself, it was taking time now to get a VAWA. And VAWAs are the main thing that people use, especially if you're married to a US citizen. Not especially, you have to be married to a US citizen or a green card holder to get it. As for H4 visa holders, the situation is a lot more difficult. Unless they suffer from domestic abuse and the police got involved, you will not be able to get a U visa, which is the only option. So it is a very sad situation, and we are hoping. I've been approached by many people, especially certain group, that they want to push that rule that people who are on H4, if their spouse leave them, that there is a potential that they can do something to protect them. And that's something I think I will consider really, really strong, because I've worked a lot for the H4 back in the days. Now, one step more, we have to give something to those people that are being abandoned. But bottom line, I don't think anything will happen really fast, because there's so many other pressing issues. But the fact that Biden wrote the VAWA rules, which includes the U visa, I'm having a lot of hope that we can do a little bit what we did on the H4EAD, start petitions, wrote to Obama, etc., etc. And if we do the same, we might be able to change the law.
And Shah, I have a question for you. What do you think the next administration is going to do with the DACA kids?
DACA is already back. Last week, the judge revived it. So because there was a lawsuit that Trump blocked it, so new DACA couldn't be filed. But now it's back. So people, by the way, can still file for DACA. And as Krishna is saying, this is I love the fact that there's people who have an opportunity, because they deserve it, because they have no idea when they came here what's happening. But there should be a provision for people who are aging out under the H4 visa also. But DACA is back, and I'm thinking that he will give them some kind of path to a green card, or some kind of something better, because DACA is a deferred action. Just to let people know, this is not a status. This is not like having an H1B, having even a green card pending. DACA is just a deferred action. Is in simple terms they're taking your file, your folder, and put it down, and because of that, they have to give you a work permit. That's all that it is, DACA. It doesn't give you a status that means you can be deported if there's any problem, etc., etc., and you cannot use that to transfer status. For example, if you're on a B1, B2 visa, you can move to H1. DACA, you cannot do that. So people a lot get, oh, how come DACA got a work permit, etc. They didn't get a lot, to be honest. All they got is that work permit, which actually have kind of created something on the job market, but it has not really affected the legal immigrants. In fact, DACA has actually created jobs also for the legal immigrants. So DACA is back. Now the next step, maybe he will try to find a path to citizenship for them, what they call it, but I doubt it, because that's going to create a lot of havoc, because it's going to be like basically moving from one side of the coin to the other. Already is happening. You saw how the country is divided. It's almost equal. If everybody voted, it would not be equal. But unfortunately, we are in a situation where we are back to the secession war, kind of. We have the North and the South. In this case, we have the red states versus the blue states. And if you listen to them, they live in an alternate world. And you know that, Renu. I fight with them all the time. They threaten me.
You and I both.
Yeah. And for me, it's like they try to get hold of me. If they can't get hold on Facebook, they will email me. And the part that bothers me is that people abroad love them. And a lot of people in our own communities love them, and they will die for them. And that I don't understand, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but I understand people have their opinion. But for business, I understand. But this is not business anymore. We are talking about someone who has no clue what he's saying. And not only what he's saying, what he did has destroyed pretty much what we believe in. So hopefully DACA is back. Not hopefully, DACA is back. And also we will work towards something better for the H4. Like Krishna says, this is another issue that I think I'm going to take. One is the abuse cases for H4, and also the other one for aging up, because it's a really, really heartbreaking situation when it comes to, I speak to many of them, actually, one yesterday, actually. The story is heartbreaking. So it's not really, they need to do something about it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So Alok, my question to you, I learned a new word from you this morning, which is great. You mentioned brain drain. So that was something new completely for me. I've heard of COVID brain for the whole 9 months. So brain drain was something new. If you could maybe explain that and let us know how are other countries benefiting from this brain drain if people are just going to be, I guess, leaving. So maybe you could expand on that. Oh, you're on mute.
Good.
Yes.
A lot of wind howling outside, so I put myself.
No problem.
Okay. I heard the term brain drain, Renu, when I was in Varanasi, Banaras. I did my bachelor's there, and I was, of course, coming to USA with GRE and coming to a master's program. And my friends who were staying back, the good Indians, would say, "How can you use our education and our money and then cause this brain drain?" Right? So brain drain was a term I learned back then at the age of 21. And yeah, I mean, the same thing is happening here. All these students who've gotten degrees from UCLA, USC. I find it so amazing that, these people are so educated and they are masters in computer science. They are masters in chemical. And, till about 7 years ago, we could place each and every one of them. At one point of time, we had almost, 70, 80 OPT students in our employment, and then get them H1s. And now they're all just moving away. They are going to India, they're going to Australia, they're going to Canada. These are the three places that I think they're going to most. As you know, Europe is not very immigrant friendly anyways right now. So, and it's just, it's bad for US, and all the new inventions, the discoveries are now going to be done by these other countries, and these other countries are just lapping them up. They give them open green card to work in any part of Canada. I'm sure you know something about Canada, where in the past they would allow people to work in like Nova Scotia or Saskatchewan or something, but now they're saying come and work anywhere, work in Vancouver, work in Toronto. If you have a master's in computer science from US, you're a shoo-in. So yeah, it is definitely benefiting, and I'm really, really hoping that the new administration will recognize that the damage that we are causing to our, combined intellectual, capacity of a country, and be able to reverse that.
And also, because we're getting close to wrapping up as well, since I'm talking to you anyway, maybe for those who are listening in, what kind of courses do you recommend now that we're still on lockdown? And for those who haven't taken advantage of this time, what do you recommend that they consider doing over the holidays, at least, or for the next, until there's a vaccine and they're able to return back to some normal life? Even young children. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any courses for young adults as well?
Thank you for saving me from a shameless plug. Even if you didn't ask that question, I would have plugged my company's courses.
No, absolutely, because it's not plugging. It's a very important skill. I think it's very important for people to take advantage. I mean, I'm enrolled in courses right now, trying to learn whatever I can if I have a little bit of time. So yes.
Unlike you too, Renu, I just took a real estate course, passed the certification. I took a life insurance certification. I just keep learning.
Yeah.
So yeah, learning is constant. Yeah. So I think there are many courses, especially even for kids. I actually had all of my friends' kids come and take my Microsoft project class, Oracle SQL class, business analysis class, project management class. And, and all these kids actually did so well. These kids who are 11th and 12th graders actually did better on assignments and quizzes than, grown-ups, just because they have such amazing brains, capacity to, and they're such native English speakers. They can do their assignments very well. So yeah, to answer your question specifically, I think project management and business analysis are wonderful courses for anyone who's wanting to enter IT. And then there are a host of certifications like Scrum Master, Product Owner, Microsoft Project, Oracle SQL, and you can be a generalist business analyst. You don't have to be a coder to be in software. And that's a thing that I want to promote about companies like us, that people think, oh, to work in Facebook, I should have a computer science degree. No, you could be a humanities major and just take some certification courses, and then you could be applying for jobs which are functional in nature and not just coding.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you for that. So Krishna, since you also are in the, in placement, as well as you have a website for Easy Jobs, what are your recommendations to all those who are listening today who are in this dilemma right now and they don't know whether they're going to stay here or go back home? What do you recommend to them that they could be doing?
Yeah, definitely as the foundation course, they should learn one of the database that's being SQL. Okay. And SQL or any other relating databases. And then it's better if they are having some computer science background, and then they can learn faster. The mean stack, Angular JS, these kind of courses will give them. If there are some doctors, we have been seeing H4 doctors, H4 EAD doctors, and all, we are recommending them to go to what is this called, pharmacovigilance, and then CDM kind of courses, or clinical data management kind of courses. And then some chemical engineers and mechanical engineers, we are asking them to go to something called validation in pharmaceutical engineering per se. So those kind of courses. But again, it takes quite a lot of time, twice as much time as we used to take, or even 3 times as much time we used to take earlier. So, but they should be able to wait. Again, there are certain caveats, like the OPT guy should get a job within 90 days. So 90 days, we may not be able to get as we used to earlier. So these are all various constraints, but definitely learning will help them at some place or the other.
And also for the employment or the companies that are looking to hire people, because I mean, I know I'm struggling with hiring people, just simply because a lot of people want to stay home and they're concerned about that. If you could just briefly, I mean, I've not heard of Easy Jobs. If you could just briefly touch on that too. Is it only for tech jobs or any kind of any jobs?
Okay, Easy Jobs, we are going to launch in USA for tech jobs in USA. But in India, we branded it as blue collar and white collar jobs. So, the situation is not very great there. I'm facing the same situation for hiring people for my own company. Forget about big managers, even the telecallers and then the sellers inside sales days. It's becoming very, very difficult. I don't know whether people are not willing to, and then people are asking exorbitantly higher salaries. So these are all the things that are happening. But definitely, one side, if I see the job market looks as if there are no candidates. On the other side, we are struggling hard to place our people who are on the bench. But here, if we have, as Alok told, if we have green card consultants and then citizens, it's very, very difficult. I mean, very easy nowadays. Okay, we are getting twice as fast as we used to get some time back. Because see, simply they are open everywhere, in the sense in remote open everywhere is open everywhere.
Right.
Even they are able to accept work from Alaska.
Okay.
So that is
Thank
the
you.
situation.
Thank you so much. So we have a few more minutes before we wrap up the show, and everybody, of course, head off to Thanksgiving to eat that turkey or not eat that turkey. I don't know really. But Shah, so much anxiousness going on right now. I mean, I see your posts on Facebook and people always posting questions. There's just so much unknown, fear of the unknown. And even though we're just finally, we know that there is going to be an administration change in about 20 days, so whatever, January the 20th. What is your message out to all the people in this unknown situation with their visas, just where they're going to be, what's going to happen? What's your message out there? You've been in this business for so long. You know, people look to you to hear that. They look to you like they would look to a president to hear that comfort. What's your comforting message, if anything, for people who are listening?
Well, the comforting message.
If you could come closer, can't hear you.
So the comforting message, Renu, is that things are going to change for the better, hopefully. Like we say, inshallah, like the truth is, we are changing. A lot of things are going to change. For one, we have all those lawsuits that are going to prevent the problem of the salary for the hiring, which is really choking many companies. And that's when I really started seeing H1B going down. Even in the COVID, there was still hiring, especially in certain fields. Going back to what Krishna and Alok was saying about the brain drain, definitely. I have a lot of clients. Yeah, I want to go to Canada. And I'm telling them, yeah, if you have an option, go, and then we'll bring you back here. So it is happening. So the good news is that we are going to see, first of all, Biden saying the first 100 days is going to reverse most of the bad things. So that what this will do, it will kickstart a new economy. And you saw the Dow went up yesterday, which is not really a great indication when it comes to jobs, but things are going to get a little bit difficult in the next 6 months, but it's going to get better, definitely, because we are getting, let's be realistic, we are getting an intelligent president now, not some crazy guy who doesn't know, he tweets at night, he doesn't know what he's doing, and plus you have all those people around him, especially getting rid of Miller. That guy is a nightmare. He is the Nazi of the, and I say it openly, he's Jewish, that's the worst part of it. He really hates, for whatever reason, he hates immigrants. And he wrote all those rules that you see are making them, causing the nightmare. And a lot of people don't know that. He said he doesn't have children, he doesn't have family. Only thing he does is write immigration headache. And that's what he does. And he's gone, and that's there are three people actually that I really want gone. Is Bra, the attorney general, who's another crazy guy, and Miller, and of course Trump. Those three people, if they go, a lot of things are going to get better. So hang in there. You have other options. At least take the options. Don't give up. And for companies like Alok's company and the other companies, they should not give up. There are options for them too. You should not just stick to, because we have been used to the easy way of H1B. There are many other options to H1B. Like I said, the O1 visa is a good option. And a lot of people are looking for jobs, and there is a market, especially related to the science field now with the COVID. And I'm seeing a lot of companies contacting me. They're hiring because they're getting funded to do research on COVID, etc. And they need IT people. So these are the companies, for the IT consulting companies, they have to attach to that and ultimately offer something different. And that's what makes a difference. If we can offer something different, it will happen, and good things are going to happen. So hang there, and you can talk to an attorney, at least get a good opinion before you move forward, and then just move some other countries. There are options out there. So that's the good news. And Biden coming, a lot of those bad things are going to be reversed. So be patient for a few more months. We have been patient for 4 years. So let's hope things out.
Hopefully we'll be able to enjoy the next 4 years. Yes. Hopefully we can enjoy the next 4 years. So thank you, gentlemen. It's truly been a pleasure to have all of you on the panel today. Thank you so much. And as 50 minutes has gone by really quickly, and I said to Seb, I said, I'm going to have a lot of fun because normally I have both men and women on the show. And today I was blessed to have 3 amazing guys on this panel. So thank you so much for sharing your views. And all those who've listened in, remember, you don't have to just, don't be negative Nancy sitting at home. You have Shah, you can find him on Facebook, Krishna's on Facebook, Alok's on Facebook. Reach out to them before you just give up and quit. There are a lot of options for you. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to wrap up with one statement only. The truth is, immigrants tend to be more American than the people born here. Let's not forget that. So on that note, happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and I will see you all soon. Back over to you, Miss Ira. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Okay.